Okay. Hi, everyone. I think we can make a start. Just let me know if at any point uh, you can't hear me. So I'm Sara Salem. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Sociology and co-director of LSE Human Rights. And I'm really excited to be chairing this event called the Sociology of Hope with academic Adrian Scribano, who's written this amazing new book on the sociology of hope, which we'll hear about today. Before I start, just wanted to thank Yadna Rahman and Maddie Giles for all of the work to organize the event, and also Nicholas Arenas, who also did most of the organizing. So today we will first hear from our three book respondents about the book, and then we will hear from the author. So what I'm going to do is basically just introduce the event a little bit. Nicholas will speak more about it, and I'll also introduce our speakers. And we should have at least 20 to 30 minutes at the end for an audience Q&A. So please do write down all of your questions. Great. So this book, The Sociology of Hope, presents an overview of the concept of hope in sociology and proposes a new foundational theory of hope that links to classical theoretical traditions of sociology, to the perspectives of its founding women, and to the reconstruction of the contributions of theories of revolution, utopia, social change, and collective action. In an attempt to understand the sociology of hope as a critical theory and a science of life, the book proposes central elements in both theoretical and epistemic terms to try and establish connections between ethics, aesthetics, the politics of knowledge, and how they currently manifest in the study of society. So the author and main speaker today is Adrian Scribano, who is the director of the Center for Sociological Research and Studies and a principal researcher at the National Council for Scientific and Technical Research of Argentina. He's also the director of the Latin American Journal of Studies on Bodies, Emotions, and Society, and the Program of Study of Bodies, Emotions, Society at the Gino Germani Research Institute at the University of Buenos Aires. His main research areas are the sociology of body and emotions, social research based on creativity and expressiveness, social theory, and collective action. And now to our three respondents. So we're going to begin with Nicholas Arenas, who is a visiting fellow at the Department of Sociology here at LSE, where he was awarded a PhD in sociology. His research examines the production of truth in contemporary society, focusing on the role of political and commercial communication in shaping discourse and people's sensibilities. He's particularly interested in the consequences of instrumentalizing discourse and emotions in the legitimation of liberal democracies in Europe and the global South. Our second respondent, Dr. Lois Liao, is an interdisciplinary researcher at Cardiff University and a creative tech practitioner examining how people organize collective life under economic, cultural, and urban pressures. She holds a PhD in housing studies from UCL, a master's in psychoanalysis from Birkbeck, and an undergraduate degree in mathematics from the University of Cambridge. She has held a fellowship in economic geography at the LSE and conducted visiting research at Renmin University of China and the University of Sao Paulo. Her current work spans mixed methods research in children's social care, the sociology of religion and migration, and housing and well-being. And our final respondent, Felipe Hernandez, is a Colombian-born architect living and working in the United Kingdom. He is an associate professor of architecture and urban studies at the University of Cambridge and a fellow architect at King's College, Cambridge, where he also serves as director of studies in architecture. He was the first Latin American to direct the Center of Latin American Studies at Cambridge and is currently the director of the MPhil in Architecture and Urban Studies. His research explores the intersection between architecture and urbanism under conditions of coloniality, seeking relevant approaches to teaching and practicing architecture in the Americas. Great, so let's get things started. I'll hand it over to you, Nicholas.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. First of all, I want to thank the Department of Sociology for hosting this event. For those unfamiliar with Adrian Scribano's work, I would like to mention that Adrian is one of the most influential thinkers in the sociology of emotions, and especially in the Latin American sociology. He's been very influential for many of us who are interested in the critical study of body and emotions, and specifically also the critique of capitalism from an interdisciplinary perspective. So it's a great honor to having organized this event, to have Felipe, Lois, and Sarah here joining us. Um, and yeah, and I would like to start with some comments about the book, which you'll see my thoughts about it. It's quite a funny anecdote. So yeah, I would like to begin with an anecdote. Last summer, I had the privilege of attending a talk on the concept of hope led by Adrian Scribano himself at a conference at the University of Alicante. After he finished his impeccable and engaging presentation, I shared a thought that had been bothering me and that, as a good millennial, I couldn't keep to myself. The thought was this: how can older generations ask us, younger generations, to be hopeful about the future if most of us cannot afford to buy a home? Many are still paying off student debt. Others have no job prospects due to the rise of AI and the shrinking labor market. And our planet is facing the greatest political, economic, and environmental crisis of our time. I remember telling Adrian, your generation has had so many victories through social movements and other forms of collective action, while my generation has inherited a fractured world that seems to promise more of an apocalyptic ending than anything else. How do you expect us to embrace hope and optimism about the future if our generational prospects are the worst since the end of the Cold War? So, despite these concerns, a few months later, I became genuinely excited about the opportunity to read his new book on the sociology of hope. Because despite my slight discomfort with having someone 30 years older than me tell me to be hopeful about the future, I have always respected and valued the words of those who have witnessed history and played a part in it. As expected, the book offered valuable insights that I treasure not only as academic or even intellectual capital, but also as a political tool to rethink my position in the world as a social being. In this sense, I would like to briefly explain how Scribano's book made me hopeful about the future for my generation and those to come. Sociology of Hope, the book, is an invitation to rethink sociological research and at the same time to rethink our role as human beings and political agents. From the classics of sociology to feminist thought, from Latin American critical theory to contemporary research on the body and emotions, Scribano's book offers an epistemic account that aims, in his own words, to redefine the human being in terms of a qualitative geometry and through a critique of the capitalist political economy of morality. These efforts entail reconsidering multiple ontologies of sensibilities, emotions, and senses, engaging with the rich heritage of the sociology of the body and emotions, a field that owes Scribano much of its theoretical and epistemological foundations. Among the many compelling reflections and theoretical systematizations readers will encounter in this book, I would like to highlight Scribano's proposal to reframe sociology as a science of life. In this respect, he argues that the humanities and social sciences are about life, about how life is made possible or impossible. In his words, they aim to understand, explain, and predict the logic through which humans appreciate life. According to Scribano, life is always an act of hope. It is a being in a disposition of possibility towards the future. He draws on Marx to argue that life is not only about the man, but also about everything that makes it possible and co-inhabits his experiences, leading to a post-speciesist perspective from which we aim to embrace all living beings as constituents of the material reality that defines our existence. And I had to say, I was raised Catholic, but also socialist, a combination that is not uncommon in Latin American countries. And from this background, I have always embraced community as a core component of everyday life. I have long believed in the importance of caring for others because there is no greater act of love than protecting and caring for those around you. These cultural and even religious beliefs, if you want, are powerfully articulated through a sociological and critical lens in Scribano's book. Accordingly, Scribano positions the other as a fundamental component of the sociology of hope, acknowledging that the other resists resignation as a way of being in the world. I believe it is through this conceptualization of resignation as the opposite of hope that Scribano most persuasively demonstrates the necessity of being hopeful. From his perspective, resignation emerges when being with the other becomes an unnoticed aspect of everyday life. This stands in opposition to care, which involves the active protection of the other. Care, he argues, is deeply connected to the future, as it entails anticipating potential harm and attempting to contain it so that the other is not damaged. Ultimately, all of this is rooted in love, understood as the affective state that makes the other an object of desire, a priority, a main goal in life. It is around these issues that Scribano's book resonated with me most deeply. I would like to believe that my generation, despite its profound pessimism about the future, still cares about the other. I do not think it is a coincidence that many of those who led the Arab Spring uprisings in 2011 were from my generation, as were the protagonists of movements such as Occupy Wall Street in the United States, Fees Must Fall in South Africa, and even in Chile, my country, the largest social movement of the century, which ultimately led to the first leftist government in 50 years. If I am hopeful about anything, is that my generation cares about the other, and that this care inevitably involves acts of commitment, protection, and love. Putting one's body and emotional energy into struggle to change the state of things is a profound act of reciprocity, a way of hoping for the best for the self and the other, conceived together as an inseparable continuum. As Scribano states in his book, reciprocity is an antidote to loneliness. And for a generation that has experienced profound loneliness due to changes in the configuration of everyday life in a digital and transglobalized world, reciprocity becomes an act of resistance against the dominant political economy of morality. Through these interconnected categories, Scribano frames hope as a constellation that sustains an optimistic orientation towards the future, not only as a key concern for sociological research, but for every discipline that recognizes humans as social beings oriented towards care. I strongly recommend reading and studying Adrian Scribano's book because I agree that hope is the most urgent feeling in the deep crisis that defines our times. I hope, yes, I hope that all of you find some relief, as I did, in realizing that being hopeful may be the most revolutionary gesture in a world dominated by hatred and fear. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. That was great. Over to you, Lois.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, oh, it says I can't share screen whilst you are sharing, Sarah. Okay, give me a second. Can everyone see my screen? Yeah.
Oh, I think it was there, but it's gone now.
Okay. Okay. Let me try again. I'm about to talk about AI and I'm seem very incompetent with this. Great. So I'm really glad to hear Nicholas what you said about the millennials. As a fellow millennial, I really echo with you a lot of the pessimism and a lot of the difficulties that our generation are facing. And one of the things that I've been working on a lot, both practically and theoretically, is to think about how we can make changes in the age of AI or in the age of heavy digitalization. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed reading Adrian's book is that it was based on a lot of foundations in the old classical sociology theories, but it has so much relevance in today's world. And today I'm going to talk about how we're going to hope and what we're going to do with our body and how we're going to change things in the age of AI. And try to take a bit of risk on my slides as well, and hope for the best. So when I was a teenager, I actually went through a very long period of depression, and at the time I didn't have a word for it. What I knew was something was wrong and change was needed. But then when that moment happened, you never know. You never know what you need to change, which direction you need to go. But it was hope, which is the quiet words behind me. It's a backing, the backbone behind me, which got me through all of this period. And I started listening to my unheard voices inside, and listened to other people, and I learned about the world and about other people and about myself. But it's then I encountered sociology, and I realized that change starts within, but it has to go outside of us. It has to be a change collectively, and that's when I learned about all these great sociological theories and the foundations, and that's why I felt learning sociology has been a great monument for me to both understanding myself and understanding how to change the world. So the direction of this slide, this presentation, seems like it's going to go into a very self-help or a Jesus Christ thing. But what I want to say here is, today, we are not alone, especially in a digitalized world, because hope is with us. And that hope is not something that's very abstract, um, every empty meaning words. If we read Adrian's book, we realize that how concrete the word hope can be, because it consists of so many everyday practices and everything that you can do from a day to day, from individual and relational as well. So what this book does, which I really echoed and enjoyed, was it moves beyond that binary between optimism and pessimism. When you think about hope, it's a very positive word, but when you dig into the book, you realize there's so much layers within that, the composite of that word. And it also embedded hope inside the real social processes. We're not just sitting there, hope for the best, hope for things to come. It's grounded in practices and in histories and in social movements. It builds on classical sociology. And when you reflect on these theories from Weber to Marx from hundreds of years ago, you realize how much relevance sociology is today's world and today's social change as well. I also echo with Adrian's call at the end of the book to think about sociology or sociology hope as a life science, because that's what sociologists have been doing. We're studying life, we're studying the interactions of people, between people and non-humans and non-humans in the future age as well. And what I'm going to bring emphasis today is also about the chapter on women and how women have shaped it in the domain of sociology of hope, as well as the importance of thinking about hope through the lens of revolution, utopia, and collective actions. So
Lois, are you there?
She have a problem, huh?
I think maybe she's still there, but
Wait. I'm sorry. I tried to WeChat with that. I put in
oh,
the chat something.
sorry.
you're back.
Did I lose the
Yes.
connection?
Yes.
Okay, so where did I get to?
I think
Okay,
You were talking about the end of the book.
okay. So great. So let me move on. So internet got cut a bit. I just find it really funny that I'm talking about AI and today my technology is not working at all. So let's come to what I want to talk about in terms of setting of the
do you want
book.
to reshare the slides just because they're
Yeah.
not up anymore? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So Adrian's book is very, very relevant to today's world, as Nicholas mentioned about the AI age, the panic, the anxiety of the AI age as well. And Adrian mentioned in the book that digitalization changes how we connect to each other, how we change things, how we meet, etc. And hope today in the digital age is also engineered and manufactured through platforms, through algorithm, and through tech companies as well. And when we are on, for example, Instagram, hope is sold to us as a product and it's monetized as well. And the platforms is constantly shaping how we are feeling about the world and what's possible or not, what's not possible about the world. And the digitalization is one thing that we can look from two angles. So a lot of digital platforms have been used in recent social movements, but also at the same time, it's have also created isolation and disconnections and created more pessimism as well. And I want to specifically draw everyone to the chapter in the book about the women. This is a great chapter going through a lot of the women theorists about how what they've brought into the domain of sociology of hope, including ones from the Latin America. And what I want to bring in is also Adrian's other works on body, emotion, and feelings, that we can never separate the social movements from the bodies. The emancipation or freedom have always required a body. A lot of revolutions in the past has promised freedom, and from the French Revolution to the current technological revolution. But what we're seeing happening in the digital world is we're starting to lose that body. So capitalism is trying to create a frictionless way of living, and we are outsourcing a lot of the work that requires the use of the body to people like carers, cleaners, etc. But the technological revolution or AI revolution is taking this even further. So if you think about the AI, we are really just outsourcing our thinking to the AI system, and everything becomes increasingly physicalist, so that we don't have to think about our body anymore. It's all through dashboards, chatbots, etc. And the physical space also becomes a very irrelevant as well. But when we read the Adrian's work, not just this book and the chapter on women, is that the women's experience has revealed how important the body is throughout the history. So from the as a bearer of care, from motherhood to care duties, and to the sexual gaze, etc. So these are very bodied experiences, and this is when what we want to think about in the age of AI, that we want to rethink about body and position our body back into social change, and instead of removing it, instead of just talking about things from our heads, and we want to be connecting more with our emotion, our body, and what we're going to change in the world. And this is exactly what AI cannot replicate in the current day of age. And AI embodies us. It turns us into profiles and data and dashboards. But the body is a form of intelligence, and that's also I also want to draw in theories from Latin America philosophy or indigenous philosophy as well. That from these ancient philosophy and wisdoms, body has always been a source of knowing what is wrong in the environment, and the intuition, the felt knowledge has guided real actions in the past. And hence, I would like to call everyone to learn how to feel again, to trust the body, to feel each other. In the day that AI is taking us from the here and now to the cloud, we also need to think about how to reconnect with each other interpersonally and and offline as well. And this book also offers a few practical guides, and I want to connect. So when I read a lot of the things that Adrian talked about, utopia, I also linked it to the psychoanalysis theories that I've studied in the past. And utopia can be something inspiring, but it can be something pressure to people as well. So we can see the utopia could be viewed as a collective superego, that it creates expectations that we want to strive towards. We want to collectively become a better society, better person. But it can also create this norm that will force us into compliance, to herding. So how do we activate in a way that's more advantages us for our individuals and our society. And that's what I would like to put a headline message here, that is, let's not rush to change the world. In Adrian's book, there's a lot of more practical things about how to learn from each other, how to listen, especially listening in a world that is constantly rewarding output and productivity, is a way to break the status quo. And if we talk about social change, it's not necessarily about making more things or producing more things. It's about how to break how the current system is operating, and how we can create alternative ways of doing things and thinking about things. And I would argue that in today's world, when we are overwhelmed by information, technology, and the changes, or from the tech world, not rushing and taking a pause might be the way forward. And I also want to bring back to Adrian's other work that feelings is very important element for us to think about what kind of change we want to make. And let's learn to feel the world and each other first. Okay, that's all from my part.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, amazing slides.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you.
And a great presentation. Okay, and last but not least, over to you, Felipe.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah. It's a great pleasure and also an honor to be here. I was very surprised when Adrian sort of wrote to me a couple of months ago to tell me about the launch of this new book, and not only very surprised but also very, very pleased to see how more of his work materializes in wonderful publications that are very, very inspiring. So thank you very much, Adrian, for this invitation, and congratulations on these new publications, this new book. I wrote a few things that I would like to read, but also because I would like to ask you a couple of questions in relation to the way in which you create two very important connections in the book. One which is with utopia, of course, and the other one with critical theory. So that's where I'm going to be aiming at with this. In his book, The Sociology of Hope, Adrian advances a thought-provoking conceptualization of hope that lies at the basis of sociological inquiry. Across the 10 chapters of the book, Adrian draws attention to the way in which key thinkers of the 20th century, as well as more recent ones, have engaged the concept of hope not merely as an affective term, but as a social practice. The main contribution of the book becomes clear when we scrutinize the subtitle, A New Theory. The emphasis on practice throughout the book signals a decisive shift, one in which hope does not function as a psychological state, the opposite of despair, but as a significantly more demanding category. It becomes a critical framework that cuts across multiple fields of inquiry and enables sociological analysis to confront the material, political, and ethical dimensions of contemporary social life. Reading the book, I was particularly drawn to Adrian's engagement with key Latin American scholars such as José Martí, José Carlos Mariátegui, Pablo González Casanova, Paulo Freire, Aníbal Quijano, and Orlando Falsborda. My interest in this part of the book is not incidental. These thinkers occupy a central place in my own research about Latin American cities. As an architect, and this is a declaration as well as an excuse, I struggle to connect morphological analyses, the city as form, the city as product, the city as artifact, with notions of the city as dwelling, not a noun, but a verb. The city is the place where millions of people seek sanctuary and opportunity, often escaping environmental catastrophe, economic exploitation, or the multiple wars that continue to shape rural Latin America. For many in Latin America, as well as in the world, really, the city functions as a site of hope. The sociology of hope offers a way of conceptualizing this condition without reducing it to either sentiment, sentimentality, or teleology. Throughout the book, Adrian highlights how, for these authors, hope is neither an abstraction, an idea, not a deferral, but a historically grounded orientation towards social transformation. As Adrian observes, Falsborda, Martí, Mariátegui, Freire, and Quijano are, and I quote, this is from the book, united by a common motivation, which is to build a better world, to provide incentive for action, and to offer an original elaboration of thoughts and outlining the future of societies inscribed in better worlds, unquote. They also share, these authors share a commitment to critical education, not the banking model Freire famously criticized, but an education capable of fostering conscientização, an awareness of the structures of oppression that shape lived experience for many Latin Americans and urban residents throughout the world. Yet, as both Freire and Falsborda insist, this is not merely a matter of establishing knowledge as a precondition of freedom. It requires developing epistemic mechanisms through which knowledge itself can be produced and mobilized as an instrument of emancipation. Hope, in this sense, operates epistemologically, shaping how social reality is interpreted and contested. Adrian further underscores that freedom materializes only through a more equitable distribution of wealth and power. It is at this juncture that hope intersects with utopia, not as an abstract projection, but as a critical horizon oriented toward material transformation. Indeed, Adrian would later claim that hope is a modality of critical theory. The utopian society invoked here is, I quote again, characterized by the absence of exploitation and oppression, where individuals are accorded dignity and respect, unquote. When Adrian claims that, I quote, hope is a component of utopia, unquote, and that hope is a utopian incentive, he frames hope as a defense mechanism against socio-political formations that have afflicted Latin American peoples throughout modern history, a history that is rooted in conquest, colonialism, and systemic violence since the 15th century. In so doing, he aligns himself with the very intellectual tradition he analyzes in chapter 3, constructing a theory that treats, I quote again, the material conditions of our existence, and this is where I'm going to dwell a bit, the material conditions of an existence, not as constraints of imagination, but as the very terrain upon which desirable futures can be built. The fact that Adrian's theory is grounded in the material or materiality brings about the possibility of realization. Yes, through the hope-utopia nexus, the joining of these two ideas, hope and utopia, he productively exploits the tension between what is possible and what seems impossible, As such, Adrian opens up a space where alternative, collective, and egalitarian futures are realizable. Now, the questions I would like to ask Adrian at this point focus on the fundamental connection between hope and utopia, as well as the formulation of hope as a modality of critical theory. Convinced as I am by the link between the theories of hope and utopia, I wonder how we can distinguish between utopia as a critical horizon that sustains socially productive hope and utopia as an abstract, depoliticized imagination that may disconnect hope from concrete collective action, a problem that Mumford, who is also cited in the book, was unable to resolve. Also, if hope is understood as, I quote, a modality of critical theory, I wonder how it can function methodologically. To put it differently, what does hope allow us to see or analyze or explain that other established critical methods, such as, let's say, Marxism, which is also present in the book, or critical theory itself, or decolonial critique, such as Quijano, who also plays an important part in the book, cannot already account for on their own? So basically, I'm curious about the way in which hope intervenes as a distinct analytical operation instead of being simply an ethical orientation appended to a critique. Again, I am persuaded by the potential inherent in the concept of hope as a critical framework to study the material, political, and ethical dimensions of contemporary social life, a framework that serves not only to reveal the persistence of colonialism, oppression, inequality, exclusion, poverty, exploitation, and death, which continues to shape social life throughout the continent. I mean Latin America, but I could easily say the world. But one that accounts for the capacity of social actors. I mean, this is what I think hope and hope emerges here as from the book. Hope emerges as a concept that accounts for the capacity of social actors, and Nicolas already said this, to imagine and enact futures beyond what the limits, beyond the limits of what seems possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a reminder to the audience, after Adrian's talk, we'll have time for a Q&A. So if you'd like to start putting your questions in the Q&A box, that would be great. Okay, over to you, Adrian.
Okay, I share my PowerPoint.
Yes.
Can you see? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this activity, for this opportunity to share my ideas and my book with you. Thank you, especially Jan, that is an organization, especially to Felipe, to Luis, to Sara, and Nicolas, obviously. It's a special opportunity to me for explain what is the meaning of sociological hope, and I will thank and all the people that now coming here to listen something about this, because I want to say briefly something like about the horizon of this book that is important today explain. We live in these 25 first years of this century in one emotional ecology that is composed of elliptic and diverse and complex emotion that interact from fear, sadness, anguish, this kind of anxiety that the world accept like a primary emotion in all the world. We live in the capitalist transplanetarian situation. This book is stand in this moment, in the moment of the change of the century, that accept the primary data that is the fear in the others, the fear of the climate crisis, the fear, no, no, this is emotion ecology. For another part, we need to understand that the more important thing is that capitalism in this moment has the strong political sensibility. This political sensibility have a very simple connection with this ecology that I said previously. Is simple. You never make all to change the world. I go to the critic of the Felipe critic about dualistic. It's impossible the dualism because in this moment the world is not dualistic. The world is complex. It's a virtual and real about when started the 60s, present the Heber Marcuse present the book Eros and Civilization. Many people ask me why you are interested in the psychological category, and Heber Marcuse respond because in this moment the psychological category become politics. In this moment, in the first part of this century, emotion became politics. And in the proposal of this book, because the sociology of hope is a critical social theory because it's about power. It's about the management of the emotion of the another people. It's a colonialism, imperialism, the new form of this dark side of the owner democracy, this power, this way to say where I want to kill you, and I kill you in for many times, for many ways. These have this sentence. The narrative of the new imperialisms have this kind of the process. The capitalism is not about object, it's about individuals. Construct individuals for objects. As in this moment, you understand that it's not about psychological category, it's not about abstract category. We try to show now how in this book we can find some of the response as these answers. But it's only for like exercise. I propose this book only for the main objective of this activity and the book sign. Open the space to discuss how is the possibility to change the world in this moment and in connection with the social science. Why we need to this and where we go to this point of view. This point of view have 4 H. Revolution, yes, theory, because all the social science refer to revolution. Many people say sociology is a modern discipline, but it's not for the moderns, only for the modern discipline, because the central axe is a revolution. They are one of the more important theories of the social science. Yeah, but what it meaning this for us in connection with hope? Because it's the theory of hope. Because hope is a passion. The passion is engine, is a motivation, because it's a push to transform the world, like a human revolution is this kind of the destabilization structure, like an alteration in order. What order? The order that the dark order, the order of fear, the order of the reproduce the social power, they reproduce the individual, the individual practice, because passion is important in connection with the constitution and people and community. The revolution mean in this book one way to understand the social theory to do the world in another way. Yeah, but this first age have the connection with utopia. It's not one another. It's in connection. It's a relationship. It's a dialectical connection. It's the form of the transform the world, the motivation, the desire. What this kind of utopia that we can to put passion and desire. This is, if you ask me, what is the very important triumph of the more important things that do the capitalism in the person today, is that the capitalism manage the desired person. The desired person is the horizon of battle, the battle for emotion, the battle for this capacity to geography of parity, ecology of reciprocity, and territory of similarity. You know, this is a dialectical point, because the first, the revolution, okay, we have a motivation, we have engine, we have this driving to go to transform the world. But what meaning this? In the new narrative that include the new geography of parity, the new ecology of reciprocity, a new territory of similarity. In way, an intersectionality way, we find out this, the possibility to break down with all the forms to separate things in the social theory. But these two movements, the movement of the revolution and the theory of the revolution, the movement to utopia, have it is in another side, in another movement, is in another part of this geometry of hope, that utopia involves this shift to desired to unreal, and then we can find something about social change. In this, I want to say that this is important. Because Marx, Comte, Durkheim, all the classic social theory are theory about social change. What meaning this? That we have a discipline to understand and to do something with the world. It's not only one call for the narrative to do something. It's a call to construct the elements, the components, to do something methodological, epistemological, and philosophical to another step from the old social science to the new way to understand this parameter of social change. This social change is a part of the hope, because it's shift in social consideration criteria. It's about it's about the collective expectation. All the social change is a drawing about how we can do, and we can do the explanation of the change. If you come back to the first part, you need the revolution like this share of passion, utopia like a desire, the social change like the form to theorize the expectation. Because in this world, the best important thing that the capitalists do is manage the expectation of the people. For change this world, we need to understand this point. What meaning this in connection with the 4H of the theory of hope is the next part is about the common, about the collective action, because collective action is the possibility to new relationships between this edge, between borders, between limits. Yeah, the collective action is about the practice of sharing. The practice of sharing can to the common. The common is a new emotional ecology. We prefer to say that the 4H are like a dialectics between the process with the object and with the new way to feeling thinking the world. In this feeling thinking the world, we can find out the motivation for the connection with others, like a revolution, the motivation with connection with our process, like a human being, like a push to the utopia, and we can find the social challenge, that expectation with all the world and all human being and living being. This is the epistemological force from hope. Yeah, the force, the epistemological force of hope is that allow us to understand in another way how is the process that is a feeling thinking the world. If you introduce in the theory the feeling thinking the world like a community process, like a sharing process in the theory of collective action, you find out the possibility to understand what is the relation, the motion that the process to the actual process to the process tomorrow. I want to say something about this. First off, I pass another part of my presentation, that these 4 ages is a complementarian. The complementarian because it's dialectics, but in another thing, like a step by step, slow, because the change is not only the structure, it's the structure and agent. It's agent and agency. Agency is the connection between agent and structure. When you thinking about the transformation of the world, you must to think and think about the transformation of person and transformation of structure. When you must to transform the structure, you must to transform the person. In this case, in this way, you can find an enormous possibility to make the hermeneutic to the future. This hermeneutic to the future allow us to thinking beyond this politic or sensibility that say the world is impossible to change. This is the point where we go to catch the energy to change the world from the theory, but this theory become practice because we looking for hopeful practice. The collective action are hopeful practice that remember us there are passions and desire that we need sharing with others. Because if you see the others, you can meet, you can produce an encounter, and you can produce the co-presence. If you make this situation, the co-present and the encounter, you must to do something diverse to the community situation. Yeah, this is a way to understand how is the future. The future is now. No, it's not tomorrow. No, is it because like all emotion, hope is a practice to transform the world. Yeah, the revolution is a breakthrough current political economy and morality. Hope is a consequence of is a very simple. The very important revolution is the possibility to do something real about autonomy. That autonomy of living is only in the discovery of the others, like opportunity to make the community like a new world with another human being, another form of living in this planet. No, in the context of the Anthropocene consequence, in the context of the Thanato capitalism, in the context of the dark situation, we go to the others to understand the world. And how we go to the others? In our hands, we have the hope This hunt is against the current political economy of morality. A hunt is the consequence of the autonomy. Yeah? But we need to fight for autonomy. If we go way out, the way out to dependence is understand that it is a little battle of day-to-day life against the consumed only part of world that we can do something personal. Yeah, it's not consumed. It's about the another part of the history. The another part of history is only this way. The hope is a practice of feeling. Yeah? That are a strong connection with value, because the new form of capitalism is not the machine of the object, it's the machine of value. The new value, the value more deeper or deep and deep, that is isolation, this kind of the I can see you, I can touch you, I can smell you, I can no, because it says this is a very important thing. We need to radical form that produce here and now in feeling thinking way. What is the feeling thinking way that produce here and now? See and others in this communal situation, in the interpretation that encounter a co-presence. In this way, the hope is a function that perceiving and construct the world, but is a challenge for the studies for the political sensibility, because the political sensibility today present us like a singular and absolute. It's not true. We need the narrative that allow us the encounter the encounter of one another like a movement to another part of the future, because this affective cognitive resource is to make the world with others. I think that is important to me. This hope don't have the logic of the rationality like a modernity. Hope have the logic of germinal. Is the process. To have hope is to always be for the fruit. Is in this rhythm. Is this practice to follow and it's not accelerating. It's not like this life in this moment in all the world that is only for the merchandise, is only for the consume, like destroy our personality and so on. Hope is not a commodity. It's not only to show another how it's possible. It's important for us that this logic of germinal is like a fruit, because you got planted, care, and distributed. This is the practical feeling. If you planted, care, and distributed the possibility, you fight against to impossibility. This fight to impossibility is like always for the fruit. The fruit is a part of the biological point of view of our social subjective behavior. The social change is possible that if you can see the connection with passion, desire, expectation, and sharing, no, like a component of the like a practice of the practice of feeling. Finally, hope, it is kind of summarized autonomy, community, equality, justice. Why this the geometry of hope that we can summarize in this phrase. Hope is the result of the love of the past, the present, the trust of the present, and the reciprocity of the future that will the happiness of all. As the hope is about how we remember live the love like a past and tension with the trust of the present like a community, that this community and autonomy and equality and justice, but the reciprocity of the future call us about happiness for all people. In this sense, I wrote this book to say something about how we need to make the deep call to understand social science like a science of life. The science of life is the science that produces life. Hope produce life. How they produce life for how is because the theory of hope is a theory about revolution like a desire, utopia like revolution like a passion, utopia like a desire, social life change like a expectation, collective action like sharing. This is the point that the new form of the social, biological, new way to reconstruct the world from all human being for all living being. I need to finish for the time, but I say you we need to challenge the capitalism in the little and the best steep that show how we can see in the age or in the others that the revolution started in the another side from the mountain, the very big mountain, our ego. We need to go ahead with which we take another in the hand and see the future like a new result of the process of transformation of the world. Thank you very much. Thank you for all.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Those were all really thought-provoking presentations. And I mean, I have many questions, but we also have questions in the Q&A box. So perhaps we have 4. I think 2 of them are about a similar topic. So if it's okay with everyone, shall I just pose the 3 questions to the panel, and then we can see if we have time after for a second round. And you can also view them in the Q&A box. So the first 2 questions are about the question of the digital. So anonymous attendee asks, Lois touched on how our relationship and communication are done through privately owned digital platforms that commodify and sell things such as hope. Is it truly possible to find genuine authenticity and self-led community within these digital spaces? And I think Nicholas also touched on this a bit. And Michael Neumann builds on this just to ask how to put into practice Lois's observation that the knowledge and intelligence of the human body that has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years can serve as a counterpoint, an antidote to the accelerating disembodied digitalization of life.
Okay.
The second, I'll just read the other 2 and then hand it over to everyone. So the second question from Caroline Artiaga says, hope not only reorients and shapes life trajectories, but also interacts with the shaping and changing of the urban landscape. And they've shared a quote that says, material objects can be invested with hope and contribute to anticipating a materially secure future, end quote. Hope as an empirical practice in the everyday could be seen through auto-construction in Latin American cities. Would you see hope as a cognitive resource within the poor, the wretched of the world? How do we view poverty and poverty alleviation through hope and agency? And finally, from Xia Wang, they say, hi, Dr. Scribano, thank you for the lecture. I've read parts of your work, and I was particularly interested in your analysis of how hope is socially shaped. It seems that different social groups are encouraged to imagine very different futures. Some are supported to hope for education, investment, or long-term projects, while others are oriented towards more limited aspirations. from your perspective, how important is this unequal distribution of hope in producing persistent economic and cultural stratification? So a really great set of questions. And I think I'm going to open it up to everybody to respond. So does anyone want to begin?
Yeah. Okay, if you want, I want to start it. That's this. Yeah, because it's interesting question about the class condition of the hope. Yeah, the distribution about that, because it's Felipe say in the first part of the intervention, there are a material condition of existence. Yeah, it's maybe when we have the privilege to write and talk about hope, maybe because many people don't have this privilege. But I say in another books in these books too, that you think you must to think in all the days, all the morning, there are millions of persons in the world that wake up, take your bus, go to the labor and transform the world, because it's not about the big revolution. It's not about the state. In this moment, in Davos, they are in the context of the owner democracy, the owners that say us how we want to live. Yeah, but it's really that there are one revolution all the day and all the time. This is the condition to transform the world. We need to do research. We need to recognize that in all the world and in all the time, there are many millions of persons that transform the world in the little space. The another things that is the another thing of the material condition is that we need to introduce this characteristic of the germinal and metaphorical support that I say you previously about this hope, the theory of hope, because the Germany is the fruit. When you plant the seed, you need earth, water, air. They are the complex connection, and in this relation with this element is a context to grow up something, and this is the process. The grow up is not in one way. It's not for the our mind is in the political social policy. Is not in our mind the power of the one man in one state. This process is spatially different. Is here culture, here emotional difference situation. Yeah, you have the global south and the north and the global north, and in this way you can see there are many examples for the community example, the community experience, the community practice. Yeah, this is the reason they call this hopeful practice. The hopeful practice, there are many in all the world. I'm sure that Felipe and Nicolas and Luis have in mind in the different geography that they work in, that how for the poor woman, the migrant person, the million and million of persons that live in the world, that allow us to think in another way. Yeah, this is because and finally the social science maybe because it's oriented to the power, so sociology of power can't see this little practice. There are millions of these little practices that point us in order to reconstruct the hope, and feeling thinking about this. Yeah. The second is really, I know that my words and the book sound something like abstract. It's a theory, yeah, and maybe it's difficult to read that. But if you take in account my intention that we connect passion, that desire, like expectation, with this sharing practice, you are very practical things, because what is the secret of the capitalism? Yeah, is that you never recognize your own energy, because the first step to do the Anthropocene consequence is a catch the human being energy. Yeah, this is the first. In the first battle, the day-to-day battle, is about the energy of it. It's about the equality to distribute this body energy, body emotion energy. And we go to understand this. How we understand this? With a new form of research this. What how we can do research about this, because research, transforming the world, and theory, they are the dialectical process. It's not one in one way and another way in another way. Not so three things separate. Yeah, is you must to know the world, you must to thinking about the transformation of the world, because the social science was created to transform the world. And we can realize this in another way. Finally, I think that it's true that maybe we need another kind of the proximity from social science and other science to understand better this topic, because digital era, the revolution of digital, is a possibility. It's not only the dark of civilization. It's not a political apocalyptic situation. Yeah, it's another way to manage the capitalism. We need to reconstruct our understanding of this. I wrote about this in another of my book, but it's important to include that we need to understand that in digital world exists the hopeful practice. Okay, this is more or less that I want to say, but I don't know that I can explain it. Yeah.
Thank you. Lois, would you like to?
Can I say something can I try to answer to Caroline? I think it's a very interesting question. At least it's very interesting to me. But I wonder if the question is about poverty and alleviating poverty. I think there is an issue here in relation to the notion of hope, particularly, because I think the city is a site of hope for all those people who migrate to the city in search of a better world. Indeed, auto construction is not isolated. They're not constructing things. They're constructing home. They're changing the world as they do it, as they construct. So I wonder if we see poverty. Obviously, I mean, poverty exists because there is wealth. So poverty alleviation is kind of fitting within the system. Is, how are we going to resolve poverty by giving people money? So it's a kind of a difficult circle. I wonder if we were to engage with this transformational notion of hope, especially in the nexus between hope and utopia, we're thinking of a world without poverty, but not a world where everybody is wealthy. And I think there is an important difference there. And there was a concept in the book that I thought was very interesting in this sense, which is the absence of absence, right? So is here sort of poverty is the absence of money, but what we need to have is an absence of absence, not necessarily a lot of money. So I'm wondering whether this kind of new articulation of hope can actually sort of motivate another way to address the existence of poverty and the construction of home for many people in the urban context in Latin America.
Yes.
Thank you. Lois, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I'll answer the questions about body and digitalization. So if we think about the past history of revolutions, a lot of that is when people feel they are not seen as a full human, they are reduced to something else, then there's this urge of trying to fight for freedom and emancipation, from being enslaved to later time that from some of the labor movements as well. And what's happening now is we are also getting reduced into something, into a data point or a profile in market research. And tech capitalism combined with technology now is to try to get our attention to on the digital platform, and it's telling us. Oh, sorry, I think so I'm back. Yeah, so the platforms, the digital space, they keep on telling you what you like, who are you, instead of allowing us the space to figure out who we actually are. So how I would answer the question about can we find true self-authenticity in the digital space is we probably can't if we were always on the digital space. That's my pessimism. But my optimism, the hopeful part, is then we can construct our own self away from these messages external to us and draw our things inside. So think about what we truly like, hear our own desire, analyze our own dreams in a psychoanalytical sense, and then try to curate our life based on understanding what we genuinely want and desire. But it's the current AI world is actually making it harder to do this, because I've also written emails to colleagues, ask AI to generate them, and I read back, I'm like, oh, I totally didn't mean this. So AI is saying stuff that we probably don't believe in ourselves anymore. So to find self-authenticity, maybe we have to be true to ourselves first, and think about how we engage with tools, not as a replacement of who we are and what we think. And then the second point is come back to our body, because if you think about what the large language models are doing, AIs are studying past data and they predict what's coming next. But our body is much more intelligent than that. So there's a word that my Gen Z friends love using is vibe. So you walk into a room, you feel the vibe. And vibe is not something AI is giving you. It's something about something hasn't happened before. And this is something we are so superior than AI or any robotics at the moment, because humans are so complex and we can pick all these things up, the non-verbal things and the non-past data stuff. But I think what's the Silicon Valley at the moment, or the tech development at the moment, is getting a bit wrong, is the emphasis on just fully focused on our analytical minds, and studying the data points, and even reduce the human body into thinking, okay, so if we can understand, we can decompose human emotion into different metrics, then we can understand human emotion. But the truth is, in neuroscience, is much more complex than that. So to be revolutionary in the digital age and to find true authenticity and to use our body, I think that maybe the call of action is to stay away from the external voices and tune and learn about ourselves and each other. And that's why I want to bring it back to Adrian's book about the act of listening, because in the practice of psychoanalysis, listening was such a core elements of self-understanding. And when we listen to each other, we see each other as true, full humans. Then we know what the true desire of ourselves and the others, and extending to the whole society as well. Yeah, so that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Nicholas?
Yeah, I would just like to briefly mention, yeah, I think like I have like kind of like a concern or something that's kind of like on in my mind right now, regarding this question of if it's possible to find self-authenticity in the digital. Um, and I can't help thinking, for example, of how um, men, young men specifically, are finding spaces for authenticity and to reaffirm their own beliefs in the digital realm, right? And if we put it in some other way, in Adrian's terms, like they're finding hope in these spaces, like in these forums where all these kind of like white supremacist young men start sharing their anxieties, their fears regarding what's going on with the world, what's going on with our country, and and they find some way of practices of sharing emotions that make sense to them and constitute like forms of authenticity, right? So I would be very curious, and it's such a shame that we're running out of time to know what Adrian thinks about how hopeful also operates based on fear and anxiety, right? How, for example, the far right instrumentalizes uh, these new ways of creating horizons of meaning in the digital realm that are mobilizing young men, white supremacists, racist people in order to make their discourse legitimate in the current world. I feel like it's also questioning like how the digital realm has become a terrain of dispute that we also need to understand, we need to study and to think critically how that also articulates other forms of hope that are changing the world for a certain people, right? In order to privilege a particular kind of people.
Thanks, Nicholas. I mean, we have 4 minutes left. If Adrian, you have a very quick response. It's a very big question, I guess.
Yeah. I know where I want to take from the Nicholas affirmation about the digital or the concern about digital possibility. The sociology of hope is a sociology for the next generation. It's not about us. All the social theory in the 20th century is very concerned about we need to do this, but it's not about us. It's about the futures. The future is today. How meaning that is not about the future, but is for tomorrow. Yeah, this tomorrow is not the same to the future. The future is incarnate, is take place, is the fruit of the future is about the next generation. It's about children, it's about young people, it's about the young man, it's about this kind of the intersectional way. Yeah. It's about the another living being. Yeah. This is animals, it's about the new form of the new forms of intelligence, the new forms of organics. Yeah, there are many ways to do something in the world because we have now the big news. The big news is the world is not only produced by human being. Yeah, and the children have this in your bodies. It's not about only understanding that. Yeah, they feeling thinking the world a través this big news. Yeah, when I present in my book about digital emotions the expressive creative method. I say I say this: we need to understand this space to start it to change this state. O sea, I want to say that okay, we live in the digital world, but we need to understand the digital world. It's not that it's not simple to understand that because the digital world has the new way to live, no? Is this new way to live involve new affections, new emotions, new co-presence, new way to do something, to love, to hate, to construct. No? The 2 years ago, the 24, I shared with young people that they are call themselves something like anarcho crypto, no? In Buenos Aires, and ask the person in connection with the cellular phone, no? The cellular phone, that the phone, no? And ask of this person, how meaning this for you? One say me the love, no, and shoot me because I think, why should this is the love, this, because it's a new change, the change in another level. We have in mind the sociology of the modernity, the problem of the 20th century, but in the hand we have the society of the 21st century. In this society, the 21st century, we need another way to understand. And this is involved that new methodology, the new theory, and new epistemology. This book tried to offer the space to talk about this. It's not one unique. It's not one dogmatic point of view. It's a diverse. But in this 21st century, revolution have another way. Yeah, it's always say about the material condition of existence. What would mean in existence? This is the answer. The answer is about existence, because the poor people have the poor existence, but with telephone, with internet, with the dominance of the day-to-day consume, with the big market and the big owners. Yeah, the big owner that meet in Davos in this moment, yeah, are the owners' democracy, that is the democracy of consume. And this democracy of consume have the very different experience of existence that the last century existence. And this is the best things that the book offered the possibility to talk about the another side of Thanaton capitalism. This is another side, is about talk. It's about autonomy to say something different. It's not that ask you how you wrote, how you Q1 publish, how you come to the next winner, the award winner you for academy sense. Maybe I ask you how you feel when the academy starts. When the simple question, how you feel here, is the revolution. Yeah, it's simple, because the another part is the reproduction of the same form to do the things.
Great. I think that's a great note to end on. We're sadly out of time, but thank you so much to Adrian, to all of our respondents. Thank you, Yadna, as well, for staying with us. And thank you to the audience. They were really great questions. We weren't able to get to all of them. But just to note that the recording will go up on the LSE Sociology events page later. And yes, thank you so much to everyone. This was a really great event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Sara, and everyone. Thank you very much.